There's a lot of times where I see somebody, they feel really insecure about how good they're doing. And they're like, okay, well, I need to be better at art. So I'm going to do 12 hours of study every single day. And I'm going to keep doing that until I've like gotten hired by Blizzard or whatever. They just like, they commit to that and they do it for like months. And then they like start developing like serious like carpal tunnel issues, or like they burn themselves out really hard. And then it's all fucking problems. It becomes really dangerous really fast. But like, it's like, you know, we've talked a bit about fitness on this channel a bit, where it's like, you know, people don't just like go into the gym and like on their first day start like picking the heaviest weights they can find, and that's not like the path to like getting stronger. It's about progressive overload. You have to like work your way up to stuff. And you have to consider your health, you have to consider your recovery. And it takes a while. You know, people who get fit, they do it because they are consistent about going to the gym, not just being hardcore about it. Oh, Peacock, I had something I want to say to you. You were saying the other day that one of the things that was like enabling for you in learning art was that this idea that you realized that you weren't special at all, and that like anybody could basically do this if they just committed themselves to it. And I was thinking about this idea, maybe I'm misquoting, so feel free to correct me on this. But like I was thinking about this idea of like not being special and like how that was really motivating for you. And I was thinking like, I wonder if there's something there, like as a learning lesson for other people, because it does feel like a smart thing to like notice that, you know, you're not gifted in some tremendous way artistically. And so you like, literally anybody could do it if they commit the time. I do want to push back a little bit, because I was thinking like, no, there has to be something special about you, because you're having tremendous results. And I don't think that you are special in the sense that you have like a gift for spotting art, like that you're like have this insight into art generally. I mean, I don't know you very well, but I don't think anybody really has like this sort of genius level thing where they, you know, have an easy time just being granted insight into the nature of art. I think that like the superpower is just the fact that you really love it and that you really enjoy the time that you spend working on it. Like I can tell that like you really like studying art, that you really, even when you put yourself up against these really difficult challenges of drawing a bunch of boxes or heads or whatever, that like you really look forward to working on art and you really enjoy it. That for a long time I've always felt that is like the only superpower that anybody ever gets. And like the people who get really, really good at art, the people who are kind of special at art, are really the only quality they have that other people don't have is like a higher level of love for the process. Right away, like you've already been talking about it from the perspective of like, oh yeah, I love the process, and like the JPEG at the end is really just a byproduct. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly right. If somebody were to feel differently about it, if they were to say like, I really just want the money and the attention that comes with art, they would never get good at it because they don't actually care about the time that they spend doing it. Everybody I know who's like a professional artist, they love making art, like genuinely love it. And like they just get so excited for the time they can spend working with their crayons. Like that's the game, like that is the whole thing. And so I would say that you do have a special quality, and that is like your unabashed love for working on art and your enjoyment for the time that you spend doing it. Because not everybody enjoys it that much. I enjoy it a lot. And like I've enjoyed the heck out of doing all these studies. I've enjoyed getting the opportunity to work on art as a career. I've enjoyed building my brand a lot. And like, I think that other people who aren't doing it, they just don't enjoy it as much. And like, that's fine. I think one of the concerns people have is that there's like a separation of people who have talent and people who don't. I would agree that there's not really a separation there, but I would say that like people who have a genuine love of the time they spend making art are way ahead of the people who like just kind of like it, or people who like tolerate it, but they want to get more likes and subscribes on social media. The authentic love for process, is like the pure natural enjoyment of like sitting down to draw. That can't be faked. And like, it's not something you get to choose to like. You don't get to choose anything about what you like. And so the people who like just like it more are going to go further. And like, I think that's something that I think it's fair to say, because it doesn't turn into a judgment of like there being like gifted people and then ordinary people who are like, you know, unable to participate in art. There's this big narrative going on right now where some of the pro AI people are out there saying like, well, actually all the artists are being elitist because they have all these special gifts. And what if people, ordinary people who aren't gifted in art, want to like participate in it? And it's like, it's partially true in the sense that some people are disabled and have tremendous struggles in participating in art. Like I've definitely met people who are like that, who have disabilities that make it extra hard for them to like make art, and they've been using AI as a tool to like help re-enable that creativity. But the majority of people who don't make art just don't really like making art that much. And it's not like an elitist thing that like some people are gifted with incredible talents to create and everybody else just like is cursed to never be able to do it. It's like, yeah, it's artists just love it more. Like, and that's like it's a positive thing. And it's also an inclusive thing, because anybody who loves doing it is ultimately going to see really incredible progress as well, if they just nurture that love. If anything, it's like we've always seen obsession as being a bit of a curse. You know, culturally, obsession has always been a bit of a curse. But I think it actually cuts both ways. I think the obsession that artists feel, this desire to continue to get the same stimulus over and over again, adds a lot of quality to our lives, but it can also be quite vexing as well. If I might finish that thought I had on the not being social though, it was on how I learned to be comfortable with my level of art, even if I wasn't at the level I wanted to be yet, because I'm not special. It doesn't exclude me from having to do all the work to get to where I want to be. If I look at the artists I admire, they've all done so much more than I have. To expect that I can be as good as them without working is just arrogance on my part. Yeah, you're right. It's like you don't get anywhere with art without putting in the time. There's just no path to that. And like, there's no one who's excluded from it. Most people don't actually want to spend a huge chunk of their life drawing. They just don't want it. And like, if you do want that, that makes you unique. And it doesn't mean that you're like better at art by default, but it is like a prerequisite for getting good at it. It is a unique trait to like just love it more than the people around you, authentically. And it can't be taught. It's the closest stand-in we have for talent. But yeah, there's plenty of cases where I think that people using simpler methods of making art because of health reasons or social reasons, it's totally valid. I have a hard time hating on anyone who is making art regardless of whatever medium they're using. But I am not particularly sympathetic to them whining about artists having creativity privilege. It's a ridiculous idea. Look at these elitist artists taking up all the pencils and paper. How dare they? Going to the art store and buying hundreds of dollars of art supplies all at once. They must be immensely wealthy to spend that much on paints and canvases. I think art is an inherently inclusive thing. Like, anybody who wants to do it should just do it. It's great. And if you don't want to do it, if you don't really like doing it that much, that's fine too. That's the default. The default is that people don't like spending all of their time making art. A thing which I accept, but I certainly don't relate to. You know, when I talk to people about this stuff, I'm like, hey, you should do daily studies. They're great. They're awesome. And some people, they like play around with it for a bit. They may keep it up for a week. And then like I watch them like fall off, and I'm still out here doing them all the time. And a big part of that is that I just think I get more of a charge out of it than the average person. That's why I'm going to like study more than the average person, is not because I have like grit, commitment, you know, big Sigma grind set energy. I'm just like, I like it a lot. I like it more than average, like by a lot. I really like doing art. And I'm going to try to share that love as much as possible to get other people stoked on it. But like, there's only so much I can do to kind of artificially, as a from outside, like induce stoke. And like, you don't even need to like commit to it as a career to like love doing it and do it all the time either. Like, that's the other thing, is that people get wrapped up in this identity thing, where they're like, if I'm going to be a real artist does this or that. No, real artists, like, they love doing it and they keep committing time to it regardless of whether or not it's a good idea. I have this quote that I keep coming back to that I made up, where I say that nobody gets into art because they thought it was a good idea. And it holds true. KK Mousy, I love your art so much. I've recently started doing studies and I'm loving it so far. That's fantastic. That's what I want. I want people to like enjoy the time that they spend making studies. Studies are fun to make.